We are live for another episode of the Couch Warrior podcast. As always, I'm your host, Mike, and today we're going to be talking about UFC 311. One hell of a card. A lot of fighters that I really like. A lot of fighters that I'm a huge fan of. And honestly, a pretty good card from top to bottom. A very good card, I would say. I believe it's 14 fights now. We had a few late changes, but altogether, should be a really fun fight card. A lot of fun fights, a lot of violent fights, and a lot of chalky favorites. Not going to be parlaying much this week, if at all. So far, no parlays from me. I did some stupid things I'll talk about in a second last week, and don't want to repeat any mistakes. Want to do better this time. So we'll hopefully we can avoid that. But a lot of chalky favorites, a lot of big underdogs. A few underdogs I'm on, a few underdogs I'm looking at, and we'll see what happens. So quick recap from last week. I did not do well at all. I made some mistakes that I literally told myself I would not make going into the year, and then I just did them anyways. Said I would parlay less. I parlayed more. Put in Gadzi Azulov when pre-tape my read was Bruno. Changed my read. Changed my mind completely. Parlayed the guy, and he had a terrible performance. I lost money on the Klein Dudakova over, which was a complete force. I did not have to lay 2.5 units to win one there. There was no reason to do that. And I did it for some reason. I thought that the grappling would just bring us over and we'd be fine, and didn't really account for the fact that Dudakova gasses pretty hard. And apparently she can't take any ground and pound either. She'll just quit and then smack her husband instead. So that was not good. Had a few good plays. Had a few plays where it was like maybe got a little lucky. But hopefully we'll do better this week. And we can jump right into it. Real quick, I'll catch up with the chat. Champ Bets, what's up, my brother? Glad to have you in here. My guy, Tyler. Shouldn't you not be watching? We have a show on Thursday, bro. You're going to know all my opinions. You know what he's going to do? He's going to listen to my breakdowns now. So when I talk on the panel, he could just have his nods ready. He's going to know which way he's going to nod and everything. Evan McGrew, what's up, Evan? Thank you for tuning in. Medic was the biggest dud. Yeah, I mean, I was considering betting Puna there, and I ended up passing. I didn't think he'd win that way. I thought he'd win by wrestling, but I'm kicking myself for not playing him. I'm kicking myself for not playing Bunez. I said both of them had passed. Kicking myself for not going harder on C-Rod, but hindsight's 2020. And I'm kicking myself for switching from Bruno to Gadzi. That was a terrible idea. Hey, I watch your content too, just not all the time. Not all the time. But all right, we can jump right into the card. We got 30 live viewers already. Thank you guys for tuning in. And first up, we've got Tagir Ulanbekov versus Clayton Carpenter. Tagir 15-2-0. He's going to be 33 years old, 5'7" with a 70-inch reach. Carpenter 8-0 undefeated. He's 28, so he's going to be 5 years younger. He's going to be 1 inch shorter, and he's going to be at a 4-inch reach disadvantage. So I was kind of hoping that I would like Carpenter here because he's plus 260. I've always been high on him ever since the Charas fight. Since before that, I believe I had money on him there. I believe I laid the chalk on him against Ronderos. But against Rosa, I actually bet Rosa thinking maybe he can outstrike him. And maybe he could have, but Clayton just out-grappled him completely. So I've always been pretty high on him. I think that he does have a chance at plus 250. I think it's not the worst bet you can make. He's a really good wrestler. He's got very good jiu-jitsu. His striking is solid, getting better, and it's already pretty good. And overall, you know, he's been fighting for a long time. He's been training since he was a child. So he's a really good prospect, and he's still relatively young at 28. And he's at a really good camp for like the flyweight bantamweights over at MMA Lab, where there's some high level talent. But I just kind of think that he's outmatched here. I think a win for him kind of looks just like a very greasy fight where he's actually able to take down Tagir a few times. The striking exchanges are relatively close, and he's just able to control Tagir enough, land a few big moments enough to steal some rounds. But it's a tough ask because overall, I think that Tagir can out-wrestle him. We don't really have a ton of information on what Clayton's takedown defense looks like. He got taken down once by Ronderos. I believe he was going for a guillotine or something, though. And overall, like, he's not really getting taken down. No one's really pushing the issue on him. We haven't really seen him scramble. We haven't seen him stuff takedowns too much. So I don't know how he's going to react to the wrestling of Tagir. But from what I've seen and what I know, I do think that Tagir is probably the better wrestler. I think both guys could get takedowns. We've seen Tagir get taken down before. Tim Elliott is one thing, but that's a whole nother story. But he's also been taken down by Bruno Silva. I think Nascimento got him down once, but I don't remember for sure. And I do think Carpenter can land takedowns. I just think he's going to really struggle to hold Tagir down. Tagir's got great get-ups, good scrambling. Whereas with Tagir, I kind of feel like if he takes Clayton down, he's going to be able to keep him there at least a decent chunk. And I think he's just more likely to get the actual takedowns. And on the feet, I think Tagir's also a better striker. Clayton, like I said, work in progress, but he's still a little bit wide with his punches. Tagir a little bit more straight down the pipe. Nice jab, good follow-ups. He's got a good teep to the body. He targets the body pretty well. His output could be better, but it's relatively low because he's wrestling a lot. It's not like Carpenter's coming out here and throwing 100 significant strikes at distance. So overall, I like Tagir to win. I think he probably wins by decision. Stuffs the takedowns from Carpenter, gets his own, outstrikes him on the feet. So I think probably decision, but I think a submission is also kind of live. I could see him locking in like a guillotine. I could see him taking the back. I could see him, I don't know, I could see him subbing Carpenter, but Carpenter does have good jiu-jitsu. I think a lot of people who are betting Carpenter are kind of looking at the Tim Elliott fight and saying, oh, if Tim could do that, why can't Clayton? Tim's different. First of all, he's probably one of, if not the best scrambler in the UFC. I'd say one of. He's an incredible. We have another one who's one of the best scramblers in the UFC also on this card. But with Elliott, he's a really good scrambler. He's very, very hard to hold down. He's a great offensive wrestler in his own right. And he's got this pressure style where he was just in Tagir's face nonstop. He was able to land a few big shots to hurt him a little bit. And he was able to scramble whenever Tagir shot, and he was able to get his own takedowns too. With Carpenter, I just don't know if he has that same scrambling ability. I don't know that he's going to be able to do that same kind of thing. And his style on the feet isn't exactly like Tim Elliott's. He does pressure forwards, but not always. And I could see Tagir putting him on the back foot instead. So Tagir's the pick. Not going to parlay him at minus 310 when I think Carpenter is live, but I don't really want to bet on Carpenter either. So I'm going to be passing, and we can catch up with the chat and then we'll move on. Flute's saying Clayton looks better. So I'm assuming he likes Clayton here. Luca from Georgia, what's up, my brother? We'll be talking about Merab soon. And then Champ bets, I think Clayton's a pretty good underdog at these odds. I think his pressure, yeah, as long as he can make sure he's the one putting Tagir on the back foot and not the other way around, yeah, I could see Clayton having success standing and maybe getting some takedowns of his own. But it's kind of a tough ask, and it's a big step up from who he's been fighting. Lucas Rocha, who has no ground game whatsoever. Ronderos, who probably didn't belong in the UFC to begin with, and Charas, who's a good fighter, but he's not on the level of Tagir. Evan saying Tagir decision, straight bet for me. It makes sense. I do think we probably go to a decision, but I would just be nervous because I could see him locking in a sub too. Moving on, we've got a fight that's been rebooked. We have Ricky Turcios versus Bernardo Sopaj. Turcios 12-4-0. He's 31 years old, 5'9" with the 71-inch reach. Sopaj 11-3-0. He's 24, so he's going to be 7 years younger. He's going to be 3 inches shorter, and he's going to have a 5-inch reach disadvantage. This line's way too wide for me. I don't really want to bet Ricky. I'm not a huge fan of his style. He's fun. He's exciting, but he's so sloppy. His accuracy is horrendous. He's throwing like 200 strikes and landing like 30 of them or 40 of them, whatever it is. But he's a decent striker. He mixes it up well. A lot of strikes with mixed with the kicks. He's putting together solid combinations. The output is pretty good. Just the accuracy isn't the best, but he's throwing it out there at least. He's always putting out something, pressuring forward. And he can wrestle too. Offensively, he's a solid wrestler. He's got good jiu-jitsu, and he's a very good scrambler. But I do think that Sopaj probably has him covered. Sopaj is a younger guy. He's had a good camp over at All Stars. He's improving still. He's only 24 years old. He's a very, very good wrestler. He's got solid jiu-jitsu in his own right. And he's a good striker with a lot of power. He's explosive. And I know people are saying stuff about his cardio. He does slow down. He slowed down in other fights too. But I think that most of it with Vinicius was that he was on short notice, flew over there. I think it was like a week notice, maybe a little bit more than that. I don't remember off the top of my head. But I don't think his cardio is bad. I think realistically, Sopaj should be able to beat Ricky here, should be able to win a decision. I think that's probably what happens. I think he's going to land the bigger shots. I think he's the cleaner striker. He's a more effective striker. And I think he's the better offensive wrestler. So I do think he can beat Ricky. I think he should beat Ricky. But I think the line is too wide because if Ricky's able to scramble constantly, get out of all the takedowns that Sopaj is throwing at him, get back on his feet, maybe he won't be landing as hard, but he's always going to be putting something out there. He's going to be landing probably if he doesn't miss every strike. And I do think he's a live dog. I think he could win this decision if Sopaj slows down at all. Because like I said, part of it was probably him being on short notice, but I do think there's a chance that he does slow down when people bring the pressure. And I think that Turcios could do that. He could make it hard for Sopaj, and maybe he could weasel his way to a decision. But I think overall it's probably Sopaj by decision. I think maybe Sopaj can knock out Ricky, but I think for the most part Ricky is pretty durable and he seems really tough to submit. So that's why I'm leaning over as fight goes. Sopaj by decision. That's what I'm thinking, but I'm pretty sure all of that is chalky. Let me pull it up. So fight goes is -175, over 2.5, -190. It's wide because Sopaj does hit pretty hard, and maybe if he death gasses Turcios can finish him in the third. I'm not sure. I don't think so, but it's a possibility, I guess. Sopaj by decision, -115. I don't hate that, honestly. If I could get something like, maybe if I can get like +100 on a Sopaj decision, I could probably talk myself into it. But it's a spot where I should probably pass. I should probably not force anything. I'm going to look at it a little bit more because I also think there's value on the Ricky money line. I'm seeing +275 right now. That's Betway, though. I don't have that. FanDuel has +260. It's a fight that I got to look at a little bit more. I'm not really dying to make a play, and I probably won't make any. Let's see what we have in the chat. Mr. Sando in the chat. Thanks for tuning in, brother. Champ saying something about this fight tells me to stay away. I feel like Ricky with the crowd cheering for him is going to fuel him, make him do better. Yeah, his scrambling is why I think it's going to be hard here for Sopaj because he can get the takedowns, but holding Ricky down is a whole nother thing. And then striking with him, like I said, I think Sopaj is cleaner, hits harder, but Ricky's going to always be in his face, always throwing out something. Flute saying Bernard by decision. Champ saying he wants more money to come in on Sopaj and maybe look at the plus money for Ricky. I wonder what that's at now. I don't have it in front of me. But yeah, we can move on. Next up, we have Rinya Nakamura versus Muin Gafurov. Nakamura 9-0 undefeated. He's 29, 5'7" with a 68-inch reach. Gafurov 19-6-0. He's 28, so he's actually 1 year younger. He's going to be the same height, and he's going to have the same reach. I like Nakamura here. He's -500, so surprise, surprise. I'm not going to parlay him or anything like that. First of all, there's not really a lot of legs that I like to parlay him with. And second of all, I shouldn't do it. But I do think he should beat Gafurov. I've never been super high on Gafurov. He is a step up. Rinya's never fought anybody of his level, even though he's not the highest level. Rinya hasn't really fought anybody that great. Like his best win was probably what's his name? Fernie Garcia. But it is a big step up. Not a big, it's a step up. It's just a regular step up. It's not a big one. I don't think Gafurov is anything special. He does hit very hard. He is a dangerous striker. He's good in the pocket. He's not so great at range. He throws really, really, really wild. He's very sloppy on the feet. He tends to slow down. The cardio is not terrible, but he does slow down towards the end of the second, the third round, especially if there's grappling involved. He's a decent wrestler in his own right, but he could be reversed. He can be taken down. His takedown defense isn't that great. His control isn't that great. And when he does get the takedowns, he doesn't really do much with it. He's strongest in the striking, strongest in the pocket where he can land his big shots. But with Rinya, A, I don't really see Rinya trading in the pocket with him. B, if he keeps his range, Rinya is not the best striker. He's very green still in the striking. You can tell that he's a guy who comes from a really high-level wrestling background, and now he's trying to catch up the rest of his game, trying to pick up the striking as well. And it's coming along at range. Like, he's definitely going to be cleaner. He's the one who's throwing straight down the pipe, 1-2s, jabs, following up with kicks, whereas Gafurov, just really wild strikes. Everything's super wide. Everything's a hook. Good leg kicks, though. That could be a good weapon against Nakamura if he goes for it very early. That could help him a little bit. But overall, I think Rinya can handle him on the feet. Just keep the distance and don't engage in the pocket. And then I think he's going to get the takedowns at the end of the day. Rinya's an elite wrestler. I know he hasn't been finishing. People aren't as high on him now after him not being able to finish Carlos Vera, Fernie Garcia, guys who people thought he would finish. Like Carlos Vera is a guy who plays off his back. He's a jiu-jitsu guy. The thought was probably that Nakamura could knock him out. With Fernie Garcia, it's kind of the opposite. A striker, you would think that he could probably submit him. Wasn't able to do that. Wasn't able to finish Carlos Vera. He did finish Toshiyama Kazama. He finished the guys on the road to UFC. But overall, he's not the best finisher at this level. But I think he's going to get the takedowns. I think he does have good control. I don't think that Gafurov is anything special in the scrambling department. So I think Rinya can hold him down. And honestly, I know now, like, I think I had Rinya by like decision at like plus 850 in one of his last fights, Vera or Fernie. I don't remember. I arbed off it like an idiot and can't get into it. It's too long, but arbed off it like an idiot. But regardless, people now are completely doubting that he can finish anybody after the last few fights. And now the finishes are pretty decently priced, sub at plus 550 or plus 575. Knockout is like plus 400, and his decision is chalked up. And I do lean towards this probably going to the decision. I do lean towards the Rinya Nakamura decision win. But I kind of think that he can sub Gafurov. I do. I think he'd submit him. I think it'll probably happen late, like in the second or third round. But rather than, I might sprinkle those two because you guys know me. I do that. But I think I saw round 3 sub, at least on Bet Online for now, is plus 2,000 on Rinya. That's pretty nice. But I'm going to play the sub straight. It's plus 575 or plus 550 on Bet Online. I'm assuming domestics will give me a slightly better line. And I just think that his jiu-jitsu is actually pretty good. He struggled to do it with Vera because Vera is also a very good grappler in his own right. And Fernie's a tough dude. I just think that with Gafurov, he's also very tough. But I think that he does put himself into very bad positions in the grappling. And I also think that he slows down big time. And I think that Rinya could really wear on him. I think he can slow him down. I think he can tire him out with the grappling. I think he can sub him late. I was thinking maybe like, I was trying to like figure out with myself why I would do sub over KO or over ITD, because ITD's plus 185. Fight doesn't go is like plus 160. Those aren't bad. I thought about those too. But it's like with the knockout, I don't think he's going to knock out Gafurov on the feet because Gafurov is durable. And I don't think Rinya is like an elite striker. And I just don't think we're going to spend a ton of time on the feet. And then with the positional TKO kind of situation, I just didn't really see that from Rinya in either of his fights that got extended. Fernie, Carlos, you don't really see him like taking the back and being able to rain down ground and pound. That's not really what he's doing. He's more he's usually just on top in safe positions, and he is threatening submissions, but he's not really settling anywhere where he can go and get a ground and pound TKO. So I think I'm going to go with the sub. I think that Gafurov is going to slow down, and I think that Rinya is going to be able to lock something up on the ground. So I'm going to sprinkle that. I'm going to see what they give me on the domestics. I'm hoping for something closer to like plus 700 than plus 550, but I'll take what I can get. I'll put like a quarter unit on it, and we'll see. Maybe I'll also play fight doesn't go because I do think that Rinya can finish Gafurov, and also there's a chance Gafurov can knock him out. Gafurov hits really, really hard, and we really haven't seen Nakamura hit hard yet. So we don't know how he'll react. And if you're going to play Rinya ITD, it's plus 185. You might as well just play either the under, which I think is also plus 185, or the fight doesn't go, which I think is like plus 160 or something like that. But that's where I'm at. We can move on. Let's see what we got going on in the chat. Champ saying Nakamura should do his thing here. I agree. My guy's Chronic Combat over here. Yeah, hit me up. I'll respond to the call. Daz Muin TKO won his only chance if it comes out. I mean, I wouldn't say it's his only chance. He could probably, like, even when he's tired in like round 3s, if they're standing, he's still throwing. He's still got some power. If you're going to do Muin KO, I would just play the KO. Let's see what else we got. Mushroom, what's up, my brother? Thank you for tuning in. But all right, we can move on. Next up, we've got Karol Rosa versus Ailin Perez. Rosa, hold on, I can't see. I have a bad eyesight. Rosa, she's going to be 18-6-0, 30 years old, 5'5" with a 67.5-inch reach. Perez, 11-2-0. She's 30 as well. She's going to be the same height, and she's going to be at a 1-inch reach disadvantage. So for this one, I'm not super confident on anything. I know a ton of money came in on Rosa last night. I was looking at the Perez plus 250, thinking to myself, do I want to do this? I don't like Perez's style at all. I tend to try to fade her. I think I've tried to fade her multiple times now. Hasn't really worked out for me other than the Stephanie Egger bet. That worked. But other than that, I've been losing money fading her. And I was looking at the plus 250 and thinking, like, should Karol Rosa be minus 300? I know a lot of sharp people bet her down. I totally understand. I'm picking her to win the fight. I maybe would have bet her at minus 185 if I had time to tape it beforehand, but I didn't. And now there's no way I'm playing her at this line. Like with Perez, she's just not a good striker at all. She has no striking. She's got low-key power. Like, she can hit relatively hard, but she has nothing to go with it. She doesn't really have much technique on the feet. Her output is okay, but she's tremendously hittable. And I do think that I've been wrong with my assessment of her grappling. I've been saying that her wrestling isn't good. Her control isn't good. I still don't think her control is good. I don't think I've really changed my mind there. But the wrestling is pretty good. I do have to give her that. And she's very strong. She's very physical. And she's an absolute dog. You know, she's always fighting for the win. She'll always fight for your money. Do I want to lay chalk on her ever? Absolutely not. But I could think of worse underdogs than somebody like Ailin Perez, who you know is going to stick to what she's good at. She's going to go for the takedown. She's going to go for broke to get them. And she does gas pretty hard. But even in the third rounds where she's really tired, she's still going for it. She's still pushing. But overall, like, Rosa's a much better striker. Rosa's volume is much better. Rosa's fought at a much higher level of competition. Rosa's better defensively. Rosa also hits relatively hard. I know she doesn't have any finishes, but I think she's got some pop to her punch. She mixes it up better on the feet. She's got more weapons. She mixes in the knees, which I like, and that could be a nice weapon here too. She's better in the clinch, that's for sure. She does a very solid job throwing strikes in the clinch, and she's a solid wrestler in her own right. Perez has been taken down. Rosa should be able to take her down. And Rosa's cardio is going to be leagues ahead of hers. Rosa's gone a hard 15 minutes many times. Whereas Perez, she's gone to decision plenty of times at this point, but she's almost always getting tired. She's almost always gassing out. She's had some really bad round threes, like the Pudilova one. So I do think it's Rosa. I think Rosa probably wins by decision. Rather than forcing a dog shot on a dog that I don't really think wins, I'm thinking maybe Rosa by decision. I think minus 125 isn't that bad, considering the over 2.5 is like minus 500 and Rosa's minus 300, but her decision's only minus 125. I would think that should be probably a bit higher, considering also all her wins are by decision. So I might do that. I'll see what DraftKings does, like round 3 decision. If they give me like minus 150, maybe I'll do that instead. I don't know. Still feels kind of gross, to be honest, but that at least that way you're kind of covered in case that Perez does really gas and Rosa's able to get a finish. Or maybe like bet Rosa round 3 on like FanDuel or Bet Rivers. Maybe they give you like plus, I don't know, 12, 1300. They'd be silly to do that because it's a good spot, but I would definitely play it if it's something like that. And then you can also play decision, I guess, maybe something like that. I don't know. We'll see. I'll think about it. This is a fight I got to tape more, because I would also lose my mind if Perez ended up winning off of like a couple takedowns, because I do think she could probably take Rosa down and with some cage pushing, because Rosa could get stuck sometimes if they're back up against the cage. But this is a really winnable fight for Rosa. I wish I played her earlier. Now either going to have to pass or play the decision or round 3 decision. Let's see what we got going on. Pirate, thank you for tuning in, brothers. I think he's talking about the Rinya fight over 2.5 or goes to decision. I played better than Rinya money line. Yeah, I just feel like Rinya might be able to finish him. That's my only thing. Champ saying Karol should cook Perez. It's a levels difference. Rosa doesn't have to worry on the feet. Yeah, I tend to agree with you. Rosa doesn't have much to worry about. Perez can throw hard sometimes, but for the most part, Rosa should be able to win. I just, like, for a fighter that always goes to decision most of the time, it's tough to lay the chalk, especially with the judging that we have. Never know what they're actually looking for. They tell us damage over control, but they certainly don't stick to it. So you never know. But yeah, Rosa's the pick for me. No bet yet. Next up, we've got Grant Dawson versus Diego Ferreira. Dawson, 22-2-1, 30 years old, 5'10" with a 72-inch reach. Ferreira, 19-5-0. He's 40 years old now. He's going to be 5'9", so he's 1 inch shorter, but he's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage. I like Dawson to win here. I thought about parlaying him, but I'm a little nervous just because we just don't know how he's going to deal with a guy who can really scramble. He hasn't really had that yet. He hasn't fought anybody who's got fantastic counter grappling, who has really good scrambling ability. He's fighting guys who we knew he could take down, who he could control, who he would be able to be very dominant over on the ground. And Ferreira, I was talking about scrambling and some of the best scramblers in the UFC, and he's certainly one of them. He's incredibly hard to hold down. The second his back hits the mat, he's already scrambling back up. He's already moving. He's already threatening submissions or popping up back to his feet or reversing position and getting back on top. He's always moving, and his scrambling is really good. So I don't know if Dawson can handle that. I just haven't seen him do it. For right now, I mean, Dawson has really good control. Once he takes people down, he usually keeps them there. He has a very nice back take, and once he's on your back, it's very hard to get him back off. And he's a very, very good wrestler, and his ground and pound has come in along. I didn't expect him to finish Rafa Garcia, and he took his back very dominantly, was able to rain down really solid ground and pound, and was able to finish the fight. So on paper, he's the kind of guy who does give Ferreira problems. Guys like Mateus Gamrot, guys like Gregor Gillespie, who are able to take down Ferreira, react to his scrambles, and keep going. Because almost none of them were able to hold him down on the initial attempts. He always pops back up. He always reverses, or he always just gets back up. But if you can follow that and keep going and going and going and keep taking him down, get to the back, land some ground and pound, threaten some chokes, then you could slowly break him. His cardio is decent. Actually, I would say the Ferreira's cardio is actually pretty good, but it's not as good if there's a lot of grappling involved and if his scrambling isn't working at a certain point. So on paper, Dawson should be able to beat him either by decision or by a late finish, round 3, maybe something I'll be looking at. But I just worry that I don't know if he's actually going to be able to handle the scrambling, because like I said, he hasn't had to yet on this level. And if he can, and he's stuck on the feet with Ferreira, I don't know if he can beat Ferreira standing. Dawson's striking has improved. He's nice, clean, down the pipe, good combinations. You see him now. He's threatening the knees up the middle, but there doesn't seem to be much substance yet on the feet, really, and you don't really see him. I can't really see him putting together a super competent striking performance over 15 minutes. Whereas with Ferreira, if they're standing, I think he's going to hit a lot harder. And I think he's the better striker out of the two of them. He's a little wild. He swings a little bit. But overall, I think he's going to be better. I think he's definitely the more dangerous guy on the feet. Hits harder. The combinations are nice. He's very dangerous in the pocket. At range, he's solid too. He's got a good jab, follows it up well. He's got good kicks, very good leg kicks that he can use in this fight. But overall, I think Dawson's going to be able to take him down. I do think that he'll be able to handle the scrambles. I think similar to the other guys at first, he won't be able to hold him there, but I think Dawson will keep going. I think he'll be able to eventually keep him down there. And I do think that Dawson's live for a finish. I think maybe if it happens in like round 3. But if not, he wins the decision. Minus 255. It's a little too much for me, but I'm going to be watching the line. If I could get something like lower, like off the top of my head, maybe like minus 175, I would do that with Dawson. But at this current line, for now, I'm pretty hesitant. I know a lot of people on Ferreira, and I could totally understand it because, like I said, I mean, the path is there. Scramble, and outstrike Dawson, maybe even knock him out. But I also think that there's a very clear way here where Dawson wins either by decision or late finish. So Dawson's the pick. So far, nothing from me. Let's see what we got. My guy, Jason, thank you for tuning in. Calling me a spicy dude. Okay. Champ passing on this one. Dawson should win, but CDF is live to chin him. Yeah, I agree with you. Not willing to sweat him. The over 2.5, I thought about it also. It's pretty nice. It's like minus 125, I think. Let me check. Yeah, minus 125, which is pretty good because Dawson probably wins this by decision. But if I lose another slightly chalky over on a late finish, or not a late finish, on a semi-late finish, I'll be pretty upset. I don't know if I can handle another loss like that, but we'll see. I'm still thinking about it. Like, Ferreira's a tough dude. He's hard to put away. And I know Dawson looked like a great finisher against Rafa, but I just don't know if he's going to have the same success against Ferreira. Maybe another spot where you do like either Dawson round 3 decision or like the over and then put a little bit on Dawson round 3. I think those are possibilities. Maybe I'll do something like that. We'll see. But Dawson is the pick. We can move on. All right, next up, we have a short notice replacement. We have Reese versus Azamat Bekoev. Reese originally supposed to fight against Serghei Dumas, and now he's getting a much tougher matchup on short notice. So Reese, 8-1-0. He's 30 years old. He's going to be 6'4" with a 77-inch reach. And Bekoev, 18-3-0. He's 29, so he's 1 year younger. he's going to be quite a bit shorter. What is that? 5 inches shorter, and he's going to be at a 5-inch reach disadvantage. So I'm very familiar with Bekoev. I know him from LFA. I've taped him many times. I've watched his ACA fights, and I knew he's going to make it to the UFC. He was the LFA champ. He got the title beating Budka. Then he beat Lucas Fernando, who fought Cesar Almeida on the Contender Series. That was a good win. And then he fought Chancey Foxworth in his last fight, and he beat him as well. So he's defended his title in LFA multiple times now, and now he's making his debut. It is on short notice, but I'm not really concerned about his cardio too much. He has slowed down a little bit in the past, but he's gone 5 rounds more than once. He took Budka to 5 rounds. He went 5 rounds with Fernando. So I'm not super worried about the cardio, even on short notice. I think it should hold up. He's at a very good gym, an American Top Team, and I think he should be fine in terms of the cardio. And, it's short notice, so it's tough for him, but it's also for Reese. The short notice is going to have an effect, too. He was supposed to fight Cedric Dumas, a guy who is an okay striker, but is very immobile, very flat-footed, would have been very easy for Reese to hit him, and who could grapple, but isn't like an amazing wrestler. So that was a very winnable fight for Reese. And against Bekoev, I mean, I think he could win. I don't think he's down and out. I definitely think he's live here, because with Bekoev, one thing that is definitely noticeable is he's a little bit, I don't want to call him chinny, because he's not really getting knocked out, and he's clearly recovering very well, but he's been hurt like multiple times. I believe Lucas Fernando hurt him. Budka hurt him more than one time in their 5-rounder, which, as much as I love Budka, like, that's a little bit concerning. He's not really hurting anybody, and he hurt Bekoev more than once. So coming up against Reese, that's a concern. So I do think Reese has a path. He hits very, very hard. He's a very solid striker, but he's also a little easy to kind of predict, because a lot of it is that body kick, right? He's spamming the body kick, and then he'll mix it up with the hands. He'll throw some really nice knees too. But especially after the first round, like in a Medina fight, right? You watch him, and the first round, he's super deadly. And the cardio held up. Like, he looked solid over the 3 rounds, but A, he didn't face much adversity at all. And B, he did lose some of the pop and some of the oomph to his striking. He was not hitting as hard. He wasn't really mixing it up as well. Like, it was mostly just body kick. Then he threw something together, blitz forward, maybe threw a knee. But I just think that if Bekoev can survive early, if he can survive that first round where Reese is at his most dangerous, I think he should be okay in terms of his chin holding up. And while I think Reese is a good striker and he hits harder than Bekoev, I actually think that Bekoev is a great striker in his own right. He's not going to be like, I don't think there's a huge difference in the striking here for either guy. I think both are solid strikers. I think both can compete. And I actually think Bekoev's game is a little bit more put together, really clean jab, and he follows it up really nicely. Good 1-2s, good kicks. So, and he's got a lot of power too. That was a really nice knockout over Foxworth. So for me, I like Bekoev to win. I also think that with the wrestling, I just think with Reese, we don't have a ton of information on his takedown defense, because most of his fights have finished in the first round. The first time he ever got extended was against Medina. Medina did get 1 takedown. Reese was able to deal with it though. And then he also got taken down by Brundage. It was like a low single, kind of a weird exchange, but it ended up with him putting in a triangle and then getting knocked out with the slam. Cashed Brundage there as a big underdog. That was nice. But here, I don't have a ton of information on his takedown defense, but from what I've seen, I do think Bekoev's going to get him down. Bekoev is a very good wrestler. He likes that single leg. That's what he usually goes for. I think he's going to be able to get it. I think he'll be able to control Reese. Reese is dangerous. He'll throw up triangles and stuff off his back, but I don't think he's going to submit Bekoev, and that's kind of just going to give up control time for Bekoev as well. So I like Bekoev to win. I think he takes down Reese, controls him, wins the decision. I wouldn't be shocked if he knocked out Reese. Wouldn't be shocked if Reese knocked him out, but I think Bekoev's going to win it. I don't really have a ton of interest on Reese here. I know a few people do, but me personally, I don't really want to bet Reese. I'd rather bet Bekoev. Minus 250 on short notice. I don't know if I'm going to go ahead and do that, but if it comes back down a little bit, I'd be interested. I wish I played the minus 185. I was taping it, and by the time I taped it, it was gone. So, but we can move on. Let's see what we got going on here. Evan's saying Zach is his favorite middleweight. Super biased. That's fair enough. He's a really exciting guy. Champ is saying he was excited to hit a Dumas live bet after round 1 if it got there. Yeah, I mean, I never bet on Dumas, so I probably wouldn't have done it, but I get the angle for sure. Moving on, we have Jailton Almeida versus Serghei Spivac. Almeida 21-3-0. He's 33 years old, 6'3" with a 79-inch reach. Spivac 17-4-0. He's 29, so he's going to be 4 years younger. He's going to be the same height, and he's going to be at a 1-inch reach disadvantage. So for me, I like Almeida here. I actually laid the chalk early on, like 2 weeks ago or a week ago. He was minus 300. I just went ahead and put 3 units on him to win one. At the end of the day, I just think he's going to get the job done. It's that simple for me. I think that his grappling is elite. I think his physicality is elite. He's on all the good vitamins. And the striking isn't very good. Spivac is definitely going to be a cleaner striker, a better boxer, better combinations, more put together on the feet. Almeida kind of just has like a jab, a big overhand, and some nice kicks, but not really super put together on the feet. But at the end of the day, Spivac is a really good wrestler in his own right. He does have good takedown defense, but I just don't think he's going to be able to stop the takedowns of Almeida. I think Almeida is different. I think the physicality is different. I think he could take Spivac down. I think he could take the back. I think he can land ground and pound or submit him or control him and win a decision. So I kept it simple, just laid the chalk on Almeida and called it a day. I think that I guess there's a path for Spivac. Like, I guess I could make an argument if he can stuff the takedowns of Almeida, he could outstrike him and maybe he can mix in some of his own. But I just think that Almeida's going to get the takedowns. He's going to get the control, and I think he's going to win the fight. So I just played him minus 300, and I kind of like the over 1.5. I see Champ bets saying he rather play the under 1.5, but I actually kind of lean over. I almost always do when there's wrestlers involved, especially two of them. But I'm a little hesitant to play it because I'm laying 3 units on Almeida to win one. And then I'm going to bet 1 unit on the over 1.5 at minus 105 or whatever. And then that's going to lose. Almeida wins. And then I break even. I don't want to do that. So I'm probably just going to leave it on Almeida. But I do think that over, if you don't want to play the Almeida money line, I think that over makes sense. I think that he'll get the takedown pretty easy, but I don't think he's going to like slice through Spivac like that. So I think will at least probably hit the 7.5 mark. If not a decision, I think that's possible too. But yeah, for me, it's Almeida, and we can move on. All right. Next up, we have Payton Talbott versus Raoni Barcelos. Talbott 9-0, undefeated. He's 26 years old, 5'10" with a 70-inch reach. Barcelos 18-5-0. He's 37, so he's going to be 11 years older. He's going to be 3 inches shorter, and he's going to be at a 3-inch reach disadvantage. So if you know me, you don't even need me to break this down. You already know exactly what I'm going to do, and that's going to be losing money on Raoni Barcelos. There's zero chance I don't bet on him at plus 750. It's just an insane line. I know that Talbot is everybody's favorite prospect. I know that he's elite. I know that he's really, really talented. Still kind of green, but he's getting better and better and better. He's going to be the much better striker at range. He's going to be a lot more dangerous, a lot more accurate, a lot more crisp. The combinations are super clean. He puts it together really well on the feet. He's got a ton of different weapons, and he's a lot more durable than Raoni Barcelos, who at this point at 37 years old isn't super durable, was getting hurt a little bit against Quinones, got knocked out by the guy fighting for the title, Umar, which I know a lot of people are saying, oh, that's terrible. It's terrible. Umar doesn't knock anyone out, but Umar's an athletic, explosive dude, and he caught Raoni. Like, it happens. He's about to fight for the belt. So I get it. I do understand it. Talbot should certainly be the favorite. Talbot, heavy favorite, also makes sense, but minus 1,400 when he literally just got taken down by Nick Aguirre 2 fights ago, 1 fight ago. I know the last one was against Gamori. I think Aguirre was before that, or the one before, 2 before that. Yeah, Aguirre's is 3 fights ago, but Aguirre took him down, controlled him entirely for the first round. I think it was like 4 minutes and 50 seconds of control time. And then eventually Talbot was able to get on top and actually submit Aguirre, which is impressive. Definitely impressive. But I just think that Barcelos on the feet, yeah, Talbot is much better, much crisper, much faster. But if Barcelos is able to close that distance and take away some of the reach, I don't think he's completely shit out of luck on the feet. And I think in the grappling, Barcelos is by far the highest level grappler Talbot's ever seen. He's a really good wrestler. I think he could get takedowns. And I could see him taking the back. I could see him catching Talbot in a submission. So I'm going to put like a quarter unit on Barcelos. I expect to lose. I know Talbot probably knocks him out, but I think that even at 37, Barcelos is world class. I didn't love how he looked against Quinones, even though he won. I do think he's on a downtrend. But I think at plus 750, he's a guy who I have to lay a little bit on it. And if he loses, he loses. But if he can get it to the mat, he's going to have a huge, huge advantage here. And I think it's a possibility. But do I think Talbott wins? Yeah, I think Talbott probably wins. I just don't think he should be like minus 1400 or whatever it is. I think that's a little bit crazy. Let's see what we got going on. Aussie Fight Fan, thank you for tuning in, my brother. Telling me you can't tell me Barcelos has less than 10% win equity. I agree with you. I definitely agree with you. Daz saying he hopes Raoni WrestleMania's him. Champ saying this Talbot money line is bonkers, considering I'm not even sure he can wrestle, and the line only going to get better on Barcelos. Yeah, I agree with you definitely there, and we can move on. Not going to spend a ton of time on this fight. I still have to break it down in depth. I haven't really taped this one too much, but we have Bogdan Guskov versus Billy Alakana. Guskov, he's going to be 16-3-0, 32 years old, 6'3" with a 76-inch reach. Alakana 7-1-0. He's 29, so he's going to be 3 years younger, going to be 1 inch shorter, and he's going to have a 1 inch reach advantage. Alakana's fine. I'm not super high on him. I tried to fade him with Dan Campbell, and if I remember that fight correctly, I think I got robbed. He's an okay striker. He stands very upright, though. He's very hittable. Seems relatively durable, but it hasn't been tested a ton, the durability. He can grapple. He's got decent wrestling, decent jiu-jitsu, solid takedown defense. Maybe he could take Guskov down. Maybe he could control him like later in the fight. He seems like he probably has better cardio. I don't trust the gas tank of Guskov. Definitely can't trust him at a minus 300 price tag when I don't think he's that good in his own right. He's going to be the better striker. He's going to hit a lot harder. He's fought at this level already at the UFC, whereas Alakana is relatively new. Not the most physical guy either. Guskov's going to be more physical, stronger. So I think Guskov probably knocks him out. I do think he will win, but I'm not really interested in betting it. Maybe like a round one Guskov if it's a decent price, but it probably won't be. I'll maybe check out later Alakana props or maybe overs, but I still have to tape this one and we can move on. Guskov will be the pick for now. All right, before we get into the main card, I got to run to the bathroom and then I'll be right back and we can continue the show. All right, we are back. Thank you guys for sticking with me. Usually I hold it in, but I couldn't do it, so I had to use the bathroom. But we can move on to the main card now, and we've got a banger of a matchup and a spot where I do have a bet. We've got Kevin Holland versus Reinier de Ridder, RDR. Holland, he's going to be 26, 12-0, 32 years old, 6'3" with an 81-inch reach. RDR on the other side, 18, 2-0, much cleaner record, 34 years old. He's going to be 2 years older, going to be 1 inch taller, and he's going to be at a 3-inch reach disadvantage. Daz, I'm assuming the subline's already up. Let me see. I feel like it has to be up on Bet Online. RDR sub plus 285. Maybe on domestics, they'll put like plus 300. That's probably the way to bet him. I mean, he can win the decision too. But anyways, my guy Tyler knows me a little bit. But for me, I ended up. So when I originally saw the line here, I think RDR was like plus 125 or something. And I was telling myself, like, that's probably a good bet. You know, he's fought at a decent level of competition over at ONE FC. Then he came over here to the UFC, fought Mearshart, was able to sub him. He's a very solid grappler, very, very high level jiu-jitsu. He's a big, not really super physical guy, but he's a very big guy. But then, like, I started taping it and thinking about it. If he doesn't take Holland down, Holland's going to murder him on the feet. It's not even remotely close. Not even remotely close standing. RDR is not a great striker. Mearshart was outstriking him. He did not look good on the feet. He's tremendously hittable. Stands very, very tall. He's got his chin way up in the air. He's not really putting together nice, clean combinations. He does not hit hard standing. So on the feet, I think Holland should be leagues ahead of him. Leagues. He's really clean at range. He uses that reach well, clean, straight down the pipe, nice combinations. He hits hard. He's got good kicks, good hands. He mixes it all together. Mixes in some nice knees too. I think that Holland on the feet should absolutely cook RDR. And I know that Holland gets taken down a lot. I understand that. But his takedown defense isn't that bad. It's gotten a lot better than it used to be. And RDR, he's not that good of a wrestler. He's an okay wrestler. He's a decent wrestler, but he's not like amazing at it. And I just don't think it's going to be super easy for him to take Holland down. He's probably going to try to tie up with Holland a ton of times, push him up against the cage, and then drag him down. Luckily, we're in a bigger cage for the pay-per-view, so I'm hoping that plays into Holland's favor. He's able to circle a little bit more. He's able to keep that range a little bit more. And I really do think that he's going to be able to knock out RDR. I think Holland's probably going to win. I did play him at plus 100 last night. I think that line is still up on Caesars BetMGM. I think Bet Online, he's minus 110 now. I'm looking at it. So I think even at 110, he's playable. It's just like, if you're playing RDR, you're playing into Holland making a mistake. And that's not a bad thing to do because Holland makes mistakes all the time. He's got one of the worst fight IQs of all time. And definitely a guy that you can fade thinking he might do something stupid. That's what I did when I bet Dvalishvili against him. It's just here, I don't think that RDR is as durable as Dvalishvili. I think he's just as hittable, if not even more hittable. And I don't think his wrestling is really any good. I just think that Holland, for the love of God, keep it at range and just let it go. And you're going to win the fight. Just keep it at range. Don't tie up with the guy. Do not try to grapple him for whatever reason. And it's a very, very winnable fight for Holland. I think he should pull it off. A little nervous because it's Kevin Holland at the end of the day, but that's why I would never lay chalk. But at plus 100, I do think he should. I think that's a good spot because I would say that he should be slight favorite. I think that's more correct than having him at like plus money. Let's see what the chat is talking about. Champ saying, I have no idea what to make of this fight. Don't want to trust either guy. If I had to, I would pick Kevin Holland. Yeah, I think Holland's going to find the chin, but it is hard to trust either guy. And I've been saying this is a huge jump up in competition. Yeah, I mean, GM3 is a better grappler than Holland. So, like, it was interesting in that way. And, like, it's not like GM3 was super dangerous on the feet. But now, yeah, on the feet, this is a huge step up. Holland is very dangerous. And, yeah, enough beating a dead horse. We can move on. Holland is the pick for me, and Holland is the play for me as well. All right, next up, we've got Beneil Dariush versus Renato Moicano. Dariush, 22, 6-1. He's 35 years old, 5'10" with a 72-inch reach. Moicano, 25-1. He's also 35. He's 5'11", so he's 1 inch taller, and he's going to have the same reach. So I love Moicano. I've made a bunch of money on him. I don't think I played him tracked against BSD. I played him when right before the fight started. I want to say like plus 230. I don't think I tracked that. And then I did play him against Jailton Turner. That was a tracked play, official play. That was up there. And then I bet him against who was it? Drew Dober. And then before Dober, it was who? Brad Riddell. I don't remember what I did there, but I bet him against Zober. I bet him against Turner, and I bet him against BSD. But like those spots were at plus money, except the Dober one. That wasn't plus money, but that was a different kind of matchup that I felt like he had a huge grappling advantage. So I was fine laying the chalk there. But here, like it doesn't really make much sense to me. Now the line's closing up. Now it's a lot closer than it was before. Now Moicano's minus 170, Dariush plus 145. That makes more sense to me. I personally think Moicano should be even less of a favorite. I think he should be like a very slight favorite. I would need to get my handy dandy odds converter out for what I think. Here, let's see. Yeah, so I was thinking like minus 150 at most. Like at most, do like 60% for Moicano because he is on this win streak. He does have the momentum. He does seem to be the slightly more fresh fighter because everybody thinks Dariush is washed now. I'll give Moicano that, and his jiu-jitsu's elite. So slight favorite makes sense. Minus 150 makes sense. Somewhere around those lines. But I was able to get Dariush at plus 196, I think. Let me check. Yeah, I played Dariush at plus 196. I put 1.05 units to win like 2 something. And I just think that was way off. I think even now at plus 140, I think the line is still a bit wide. Like, if he didn't get knocked out in those last 2 fights, this would be a completely different line. And I understand those fights did happen, but like, it was Charles Oliveira, who he did take down, he did control, and he ended up getting knocked out. Oliveira knocks out a lot of people. He hurts a lot of people, and then people still turn around and bet on those other guys. It's not like they throw them away. And then Arman came out and knocked him out with an insane combination, and a very explosive guy in Arman Tsarukyan. And like, it happens. I personally don't think it's time to say that Dariush is washed. I don't think so. He's 35, sure, but so is Moicano. Moicano is 1 month younger, and you could try to say that Dariush has taken more damage, but I don't think I would necessarily even agree. Moicano has taken so much damage. BSD was landing on him in that second round, landed some good damage. Drew Dober landed a ton of damage on him. Jailton Turner almost put him out in the first round. He would have if he just followed up. I'm glad he didn't because I had a bet on Moicano there. But Moicano's been hurt and been beat up many, many times. And Dariush, yeah, he has been too. But I honestly don't think, like, if I had to go off the top of my head, I think maybe Moicano's actually taken more straight damage to the head. So, and it's not like Moicano has a super good chin either. Moicano gets hurt a lot. Moicano does get hurt. His recovery is good. He's probably overall a relatively durable guy, but he does get hurt. So I don't think Beneil's super washed. I think that Beneil, he's just taken some tough losses to some really tough competition. Arman is literally fighting for the title this card, and Charles was the champion. I don't hold that to him against him super hard. And like, if you actually just break it down, put aside all the narratives for a second, on the feet, I like Dariush striking better. He's more unorthodox, but I think he's the better striker. And I think he's the one out of the two of them who hits harder standing. Both of them are relatively hittable, but I actually think Moicano is more hittable out of the two of them. And for the most part, like, I trust Dariush's durability more than Moicano's standing. Even now, I think. Maybe I'll be completely wrong, and maybe the chin really is washed. But I don't think Moicano is a huge knockout threat on the feet. I don't think Moicano is super powerful standing. So I'm not super worried about that. And I think on the feet, Dariush is the better striker. So, and with more power. He'll land the bigger shots. He'll land cleaner. He'll have the bigger moments standing. And then on the ground, is Moicano an elite grappler, elite jiu-jitsu practitioner? Yes. Do I think his wrestling is amazing? No, I don't think it's that great. He's got very good control once he's on top. He could take the back. He transitions really nicely from position to position. But Dariush is an elite scrambler also. We've been talking about them all night. But both of his fights with Carlos Diego Ferreira, the other scrambler I was talking about earlier, ton of scrambling there. Dariush doing it both defensively and offensively. And in a lot of his fights, the Mateus Gamrot fight, he showed some amazing scrambling ability there. I don't think Moicano's going to have an easy time taking him down. I don't think Moicano's going to have an easy time at all holding him down. I don't really think Moicano's going to sub him. I don't think Moicano's going to be able to get into a position where he can just rain ground and pound down like he did against BSD. I think this is a really tough matchup for Moicano. I think it's a tough matchup for both guys, but like if those last two knockouts didn't happen, I think Dariush would be the favorite here. I'm not saying that he should be, but I think that him at this line, it's a solid play. Plus 140 is a solid play. I played plus 196, so I'm not going to sit here and go tell you to play 140. I probably still would have, but I already made my play earlier on. So that's where I'm at. I do like Dariush to get the job done. And we can move on. Let's catch up with the chat real quick, though. Champ saying Dariush at this line is recency bias, only lost to the best guys. Yeah, that's pretty much what I was saying. JJ, what's up, brother? Saying Dariush is a better striker, better chin. Yeah, I mean, people are going to laugh at us for saying better chin because he just got knocked out twice in a row. But just looking at their fights in the past, like I think he has a better chin. We'll see if I'm wrong, though. Evan saying he can't afford to lose, neither can I. Yeah, I love Moicano. I'm never rooting for him to lose. I'm a bigger fan of his than I am Benil's, but I'm an even bigger fan of money, and I think Benil at plus 196 was a play I had to make. All right, moving on. We've got a banger. We have Jiri Prochazka versus Jamal Hill. Jiri 35-1. He's 32 years old, 6'3" with an 80-inch reach. Hill 12-2-0. He's 33. He's 1 year older, 1 inch taller, and he's going to be at a 1 inch reach disadvantage. So I played Hill a few days ago, I believe, at plus 100. I played it because I was leaning Hill. I had done a little bit tape. I didn't finish yet. And I kind of figured that if I didn't like it, I could hedge off because that's where the line was going. And then I was able to fully tape it, and I'm pretty happy with it. I considered hedging off because Jiri is sitting at plus 100, and Jiri's a terrifying man to bet against. But I think I'm going to stick to my read, and I'm going to stick with my gut, and I'm going to go with Jamal Hill here. I do think he should be able to get the job done. Jiri's a menace. Jiri's able to break guys with his pressure, his unorthodox striking. It just comes out of nowhere. He's extremely physical. He's a human specimen. He's a beast, and he always fights for your money. That is 100%. But most of the time, he's fighting for your money as he's trying to come back into fights, right? Like I was talking to my brother, and my brother was like, "Isn't Jiri always super dominant?" And I was like, thinking about it, and I was like, honestly, no. He's like coming back in a lot of his fights. Against Uzdemir in his debut, he got hurt in the first round. Then he came back, got the finish. Against Dominic Reyes had a lot of good moments in that fight. Knocked him out from bottom. Jiri said it himself. And then he came back and won that fight. Glover Teixeira, he was losing that fight, and he came back and got the last second submission. Rakic also lost the first round, got kind of beat up, and then came back and got the finish. So he's usually coming back from behind and then winning. So as an underdog, yeah, it's a solid spot. But when he was a slight favorite and Hill was plus money, like I think Hill is a much cleaner striker. I think Hill is going to be able to clip Jiri on the feet a lot. The way Jiri's hands are super low, like I understand what he's doing. That's his style, and it makes his strikes really hard to predict. But Hill is able to fight really long. He uses that reach really well. And I just think that Hill's going to be able to maintain range. And when Jiri's hands are down, Hill's just going to be popping jab, 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 then following it up, a 1-2 down the pipe, going to the body, mixing in some kicks. Hill has good leg kicks. Jiri does not check leg kicks at all. He just eats them. And so I think that Hill should be able to knock out Jiri. I think Hill can outstrike Jiri for 3 rounds and win a decision. I hear a lot of talk about Jiri's grappling being a thing, but Jiri doesn't have amazing wrestling. Yeah, it'll work on Alex Pereira because Alex Pereira, God bless his soul, to this day still has not improved his takedown defense. But Jamal Hill has really good takedown defense, and I don't think that Jiri's going to be able to take him down at a high clip. I don't think that Jiri's going to be able to hold him down at a high clip, and I don't think that Jiri's going to be able to do a ton of damage if he does take Hill down. So I think this fight's going to play out on the feet. I think Jiri will be pushing forward. I think Hill is going to be doing a lot of lateral movement. Sometimes he can be a bit flat-footed. That does concern me, but he does move a lot. He angles off really well, sets up his combinations, and I just think that he's the much cleaner striker. And just like Jiri hits hard, Hill also hits really hard. And Jiri does seem to have a bit more weapons on the feet in his arsenal, mixing in those elbows and knees. But you watch Hill, and Hill's also throwing knees. Hill's also throwing leg kicks. He's also hitting teeps to the body. So he's not far behind when we're talking arsenals on the feet. And then, like I said, I just think he's much more technical, much cleaner, and Jiri relies completely on his durability. He doesn't have any defense, and Hill's also pretty hittable, but I just trust him a little bit more when it comes to the defensive work. So yeah, for me, I like Jamal Hill at plus money. I think he's a play. The line's a little bit freaky, but yeah, give me Hill here. What's good, Jake? Jake, weren't you the one ranting about people betting on Arman? Because I'm gonna be I'm gonna be talking about my Arman bet soon. I don't want you to get triggered. But anyways, we have Merab Dvalishvili versus Umar Nurmagomedov for the UFC Bantamweight Championship. That is the co-main event. We've got Merab. He's 18-4-0, 34 years old, 5'6" with a 68-inch reach. Umar, 18-0, undefeated. He's 29, so he's 5 years younger. He's going to be 2 inches taller, and he's going to have a 1-inch reach advantage. So I'm not really going to talk about this fight too much because I'm extremely biased towards Merab. I absolutely love the guy. My fiance is Georgian. Her entire family is Georgian. I cheer for Georgia with them. I love Merab's personality. I know a lot of people don't. I do. I think the dude is hilarious. I love guys like him and guys like Bilal, who might not be the most physically gifted people, but who work tremendously hard and have been able to become champions just straight through hard work and just an amazing work ethic. And yeah, so I don't like betting against Merab. I haven't done it in a long, long time. I think one of the last times I bet against Merab might have actually been, this is like shortly after I got into sports betting, into betting MMA. I think I bet Gustavo Lopez against Merab at like plus 300, something like that. I remember thinking, maybe this guy could outstrike Merab. Now in hindsight, that's crazy work. I've learned the errors of my ways. I had Merab against Cejudo. I had a max bet on Merab against Sean O'Malley. Cashed me that. That was a beautiful, beautiful hit. That felt really good because I got a lot of slack for that because everybody loves O'Malley, but I really felt like Merab would beat him, and he did. And I actually got to watch the fight in Georgia. We were there for a trip, and it just worked out that way that we were there while the fight was happening. So I looked it up, and we were able to find where they watched the fights over there in person. It was outside their big concert hall. And it was like, apparently it was like 10,000 people. To me, obviously, I'm not counting everybody. It definitely looked like a couple thousand. It was just, the streets were stacked and everybody's just watching the fight. Most people are pretty wasted. I did not drink because it was 7 in the morning and I had just got woken up. But it was 7 in the morning there in Georgia. But that was one of my favorite experiences ever. The vibes there were immaculate. It was a lot of fun cheering for him. And I'm a fan. And I'm also a fan of Umar's, but I don't want to bet against Merab. It's that simple. When I have a significant bias, I just won't bet either way usually. I do think Umar seems to have the advantages here. I did think that Umar is probably a better striker, and I think that Umar is probably a better wrestler with better control. But Merab's a beast. He's an absolute machine, just like his nickname. You can never count the guy out. There's a lot worse underdogs you can do than Merab at plus 250 or plus 275. I personally don't really want to do it. I think I'm just going to leave this fight alone. I was hoping to maybe play like an over 4.5, but it's chalked. It's like minus 2 something. And that's a little scary when Umar is a pretty good finisher sometimes. But I think most likely how this plays out, if Umar wins, he's landing the more effective strikes on the feet. He's targeting the body because Merab doesn't take body shots super well sometimes. And he's mixing in his takedowns and he's able to control Merab. But Merab has been taken down, but he's a very hard guy to take down. He's a very hard guy to hold down. And he does a really good job of weaponizing the cardio and the takedown attempts. I say takedown attempts because he doesn't even need the takedown sometimes. Like in the Peter Yan fight, right? He shot, 40-something attempts? But he's not really trying to finish a lot of them. He's using it as a threat. So the other guy's worrying about it, and then he can come upstairs and he can strike. The thing is here, I don't know if Umar is going to be super worried about it. I think Umar is a really good counter grappler, and it's going to be really hard for Merab to take him down. But again, you can't count out Merab. His pace, his cardio is insane, and Umar hasn't had to fight a guy like this yet. So my official pick will be Umar, but I'm not betting on it. Not counting out Merab at all. I'm going to be rooting for Merab because I love the man and I'm a huge fan. So I'm really hoping he wins. I'll be rooting for him. Don't think I'll bet on it. Maybe if the first round goes well and I see that maybe Merab is landing takedowns, or maybe Umar doesn't seem as dominant as I worried he might be, then maybe I can get in live, because I don't often have a chance to bet live. Sometimes I don't get to watch the fights live, but I will be watching this time, and maybe I'll be looking out for a live bet on Merab. But overall, I'm going to pass. It's a really, really good fight that I'm looking forward to, though. Rooting for Merab, though. Let's go. Champ saying he likes Umar, believes he'll be able to hold Merab on the ground and not allowed to push a pace. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't lay the chalk on Umar here at this price, but yeah, spoke enough about this one. We can move on to the main event. We've got Islam Makhachev versus Arman Tsarukyan, the rematch. I've been waiting for this fight for so long. Islam, he's going to be 26, 1-0, 33 years old. He's 5'10" with a 70.5-inch reach. Arman, 22, 3-0. 28 years old. He's going to be 5 years younger, going to be 3 inches shorter, and he has a 2-inch reach advantage. So, look, I'm a fan of both guys. I always have been. Always rooting for Islam, always rooting for Arman when they're fighting other people. And for me, I just think that Umar is a must play at plus 300, plus 330. I think I saw a plus 340. And obviously, for me, it's a value play. I bet via bet value. That's what's always worked for me. I'm profitable 3 of the 4 years that I've been doing this, and that's my style. That's how I do it. I think that there is value, but I also just think, like, when I say value, it's because I think Arman can win this fight pretty often. I think that this line shouldn't be much wider than like 60% Islam, maybe a little bit more. But at this point, like minus 410, it's too much. Like, Arman on the feet can match him. I don't think Islam's a way better striker than Arman. I think at range, both guys are very good. Both guys are good at certain things. Islam has really nice kicks. His hands are solid. The combinations looked really good in the Poirier fight. But Arman's striking has improved a ton. The combinations of his look really nice. He's very explosive. The combo that put out Beneil was insane. And he's a really good striker. He's got a lot of power. We've seen both guys hurt. Both guys can hurt each other. I think that Islam can hurt Arman. We've seen Arman hurt. But Islam's also been knocked out cold. I know he got caught clean, but Arman hits incredibly hard. He's very explosive. He's very athletic. And you got to remember, Arman's only 28 years old still. He's just been in the UFC for a while now. He's been in the sport for a very long time, 25 fights at only 28 years old. But he's improved a ton. So on the feet, I lean ever so slightly Islam, but not by a ton. And then offensive wrestling, it's like both guys are really good wrestlers. Again, I think I lean Islam a little bit. I think Islam, at least in the past, was a little bit more physical. But you watch their first fight, like Arman's counter grappling was on point. His takedown defense was very good. His scrambling was very, very good. His own takedowns were very solid. And he's a really good fighter. He's a guy who, like, he's a very intelligent fighter. Look at the Oliveira fight, right? What other fighter have you ever seen defend a choke like that in the third round the way he did it? I know it was terrifying, especially as a guy who had money on him when he just went limp, and another ref might have just called that. So that was scary, but it just shows he's a really high-level guy. His defense is on point. His offense everywhere is on point, striking, wrestling. And while I think Islam is right now the pound-for-pound GOAT, I think Arman is probably the only guy at lightweight who can unseat him. And honestly, the Poirier fight for me did make me feel a little bit better about an Arman play, because with Islam, are my own sponsors in here going against me? My partners? Shout out to Fan Arch. Make sure you guys are checking them out. They bring you all these shows. They are my partners. They are awesome. Make sure to check out the team there. Make sure to check out Fan Arch. They're rooting for Islam, rooting against me. I am on Arman, but either way, yeah. So I think Islam is a slightly better wrestler, slightly more physical guy. He will be more dangerous when it comes to submissions, but I don't really think he's going to sub Arman. After seeing the way that Arman handled Charles, I really don't think Islam subs him, even though I know Islam subbed Charles too, and he's a different level. I just don't think he's going to submit Arman. And I was talking about the Poirier fight with Islam. So I had Islam there. I think I had like a late finish prop too, so that was nice. Or I had some form of finish prop or something. And personally, I had the fight 2-2 going into the fifth. I know not everybody agrees with that, but I was really, really shook because I had money on Islam, and I felt like Poirier might actually be pulling it off because I really thought that Islam's takedowns would come much easier, and Poirier's ability to scramble out, to reverse, to get back up was really, really impressive and a surprise for me. And if Poirier was able to do that, like that's a skill that Poirier has developed over the years. Arman is already an elite wrestler, and he's only been working on it and getting better and better and better. I just don't think Islam's going to have an easy time holding Arman down at all. And then on the feet, Poirier, better pure boxer than Arman, for sure. But Arman's a really good striker in his own right, and that was a very close fight standing. So I just don't think that Islam's going to cover minus 410. I think it's going to be a close fight. I lean to, like, Islam will be my pick, I guess, because I say that he wins the fight more than 5 times out of 10. He should be more than 50%. So he'll be my pick, but I do have a half unit on Arman already at plus 300, and I plan on adding another half unit. I'm hoping for the line to keep going up because I know that the parlay boys haven't even gotten started. The casuals haven't even gotten to their betting apps yet. So I think the money will come in on Islam, and I think we're going to get an even better line on Arman. I just put a little something down on the plus 300 just in case, because I am not by any means a line movement expert. I usually mess up line movements. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I guess Islam will probably win more often than not, but I think Arman's a super live dog. I think he's super live to pull off the upset, and I did take the shot on him. And that's it, guys. That is UFC 311. I'll go through the card one more time. I'll give my picks. I'll go through my bets one more time, and then we'll get out of here tomorrow. I will be doing my shorts. I'll be dropping those tomorrow. And then on Thursday, we have the panel coming back, me and Tyler. This time it'll be on Tyler's channel, so watch out for the information on that. And yeah, so the picks. Tagir in the first fight, but it's a dog or pass. Sopaj in the second fight. Nakamura, Rosa, Dawson, Bekoev, Almeida, Talbott, Guskov, I guess. No confidence there, and I need to tape that one some more. Holland, Dariush. Yeah, we're gonna pick Dariush outright. Honestly, I'm gonna go ahead and he's gonna be the pick and the bet. Hill, I guess Umar, and I guess Islam, but like I said, I bet on Arman. And the bets: Arman plus 300, half a unit; Hill plus 100, 1 unit; Dariush plus 196. 1.05 units, Holland plus 100, 1 unit, and Jailton Almeida 3 units minus 300. And then, oh yeah, I do have the Arman and Islam over 3.5 as well. I forgot to talk about that. I think we're going to go over. I think this fight probably goes to decision. I don't think there's going to be a finish. Like I said, both guys could probably knock each other out, but I think overall both guys are very durable and have very good recovery. So I think they're going to be fine. I think the fight goes over. And then, yeah, that's it, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. Catch you guys next time. Good luck this weekend and peace out.